overtly paranoid now that I'm gonna accidentally put my phone on slow-mo mode again. Hi, hello, it is my January wrap-up. I read 30 books this January, so I'm gonna run through these. Some of these books were library books or borrowed books, and so I do not have them anymore, or I unhauled them, which I will explain what I unhauled and go from there. I was going to sort this from like best rated to or like lowest rated to best rated, and then like my top books of the month, but I am genuinely not that organized, so I will not be doing that. I just realized that my hanging plant may get in the frame for this, and if it does, I'm going to off myself. If you hear barking, it is the dogs. I'm going to do my best to crop that out, but the mailman is out and my dogs are out for blood, so I feel like I should explain also that I track books in three ways. Three ways, not counting Goodreads because Goodreads is trash. I use a Google Sheets document that another YouTuber made. If I can find that YouTube video, I will link it down below. And that's just like to keep track of everything in a cohesive way. I really like the way the pie charts look. I also use Bookly and Leo on my phone to track the time that I'm reading, especially if I'm listening to audiobooks for things like Pondathon, which I'm participating in this year. It just makes it easier for me to track time. I also use 2 bullet journals. They're not pretty. I don't use them for planning. I think they're not pretty. I don't use them for any kind of planning. I am chaotic and don't use anything for planning. I just suffer. I love planners, just can't keep up with them. So I use these to keep track of things. I can go over what I use them, how I use them in a different video. So I read 30 books this year, and the first book I read was I'll Be Gone in the Dark by Michelle McNamara. I love that I put Wilder Girls as my first book of the year because I wanted it to be, but then I finished it on New Year's Eve. I did not enjoy this book at all. It was too sporadic for me. Everyone's like, oh, it's so scary, so hard to go to sleep after reading, and honestly, no. Maybe it's because I like consume true crime podcasts constantly, and I watch horror and that kind of thing, but honestly, no. But I knew about the Golden State Killer case in pretty good detail already. Also, to be totally fair to the book, this was before the Golden State Killer was caught, and so to me, I'm like, okay, like we know this information already. So because it was a little dated, that sucked. And it was just so all over the place. And I understand that the reason it was all over the place was because the author passed before she was able to publish the book. And I understand and respect that. I, however, did not enjoy it. I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. This was before I implemented the Caw Pile rating method. This originally was going to be my worst book of the month. I will get to what is the worst book of the month this year for me. After that, I read The Golden Compass. The Golden Compass is a series of books that I read as a kid. It was why I got my first e-reader. My parents didn't want me to have the books taken away because I went to Christian private school and they were banned, and my parents are anti-banning books. So that is why I got my first e-reader, so that I could successfully read this book while pretending to read the Bible. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. Again, this was before I implemented the Caw Pile rating system. It was a good book. It was slow, the first like half, and then it picked up. I'm going to read the next 2 books. Hopefully this month I'm going to read the second one, but we'll see. It's always out at the library, and I want kids to be able to read it because I've already read it. Not a whole lot to say there. It was fine. I also this month took all of the books that I had started and not finished from the last couple of years, since whenever me and my partner got together, so 2015. I took all of those books and put them on my TBR cart and finished them, and I only DNF'd 1 and completed the rest of them. So I'm really proud of that. The next book is one of those. That's A Secret History of Witches. 4 out of 5 stars. It's historical fiction with a mystical aspect. I do not like historical fiction at all, but I love witches, so that's all I have to say about that. It wasn't great, it wasn't bad. I have many more books to go. We're on number 3. After that was Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. 3 out of 5 stars. Where's the plot, though? That's all I have to say about that. Do I want to own these in hardcover? Yes, because they're pretty. That's it. That's the reason. I don't have to explain anything to you people. After that, we have The Family Upstairs by Lisa Jewell. I thoroughly enjoyed this book. These are all of my, like, oh, I think I know what's going on. This was back when I still followed a color coding pattern, I believe, and so, nope, maybe not. I don't know what the green ones mean anymore. I don't know, but this book was really good. So I read a lot of thrillers, or used to read a lot of thrillers, and I generally am not surprised by things. I'm like, okay, cool. So the general plot twist of this, I knew. I knew what was happening. I had an idea. It was just those finer details that I didn't know, and Lisa Jewell did an amazing job of hammering those out. So she is a really fantastic author. I really enjoyed this book. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. Actually, not my favorite book of the year, but a really good book. We're going to put her back where she lives. After that, I read Bunny. This was the book that the library lost and then they finally found again, and I was almost about to buy it. And that is actually in my very first vlog. That is never going to see the light of day. So, but I did talk about it at one point. Bunny got a 5 out of 5 stars. I don't know what happened in that book, and I was freaked out the whole time, and I loved it. I loved every second of that. There is a really fine balance between confusing your reader and making them not sure what's going on, but having them interested, versus just leaving your reader so much in the dark that they don't know what's going on and they're mad about it. I will tell you about a book that was like that shortly. So that was a 5 out of 5 star read. It is my favorite adult novel that I read. Actually, that's not true. My second favorite adult novel that I read this month. After that, I read The Wives by Taryn Fisher. This was for my Thrillers by the Book Club read for January. These are all the red flags in this book. I understand that these are not red, but I hated this book. I will be unhauling this book. I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. Again, this was before I implemented the compile method, so if I were going to rate it again, I would probably give it a 2 or a 2.5. I think I actually, on my Google Sheets, gave it a 2.5. So that's that. After that, I read The Nanny, which Gilly Hicks wrote that, I think. Oh, the tip of my nail just broke off. I'm so sad. After that, I read The Nanny. I think that was by Gilly Hicks. I really enjoyed that book. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. I think it was relatively predictable, and that's why I didn't give it a full 5 stars, but it was a good book. I got it from the library, so I don't have it with me. After that, I read Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. This is the first book by Leigh Bardugo I have ever read, and I got the collector's edition of this book because, look at it. Do I need to say more? Okay. This was my favorite YA book I've read this month, and I want to read it again, and I loved it. And that's all I have to say about that. It was a really good book. He lives there. After that, because I was like, Leigh Bardugo is bae, I read Ninth House. Ninth House, we got some tabs here. Ninth House was really good. I think the reason that some people don't like it, and I may have mentioned this before, is because they expected it to be like the Grishaverse, and it is absolutely not even in the same genre. And yeah, I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, and I really enjoyed it. That's it. I wasn't particularly spooked, but it's pretty hard to scare me. So after that, I read The Stranger Beside Me by Anne Rule. This is the Ted Bundy case. Because I'm from Texas, my brain wants to say Ted Cruz, and we all know he's the Zodiac Killer. So The Stranger Beside Me was okay. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. My issue, I would have given it 4 out of 5 stars, and here's why I didn't. It said, epilogue, and there was still over 100 pages left in the book. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? And then it said, the final chapter, and there's still like a lot left in the book, and I was like, this is a really long chapter? And then there were like 2 more add-ons after that. And that was it. I had false hope that I was almost done with this book, and then there was like continued updates. And I understand that it was like released and then updated and released and then updated. I get that. I get that that's what happens with historical books. But to me, it was annoying. I don't have anything else to say about that. I was just annoyed. So after that, I listened to Last Dragon Standing by Rachel Aaron. That is the final book in the Heartstriker series for her DFC world. I really suggest people listen to this book or read them. They are on Kindle Unlimited, I believe, or they used to be. I love Rachel Aaron's world building. I have loved this series from the start. It is my guilty pleasure. I adore these books, and I suggest them to a lot of people who like fantasy. So that's it. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars, and I think part of it was because I was sad that it ended, if I'm going to be totally honest. After that, I read Illuminae, apparently in one day. No, that makes sense. I gave it 5 stars. I was intimidated when I picked it up because I saw that it was over 600 pages, I think, and I was like, what have I done? But it was a fast read for me because of the way that it was formatted. I haven't read a sci-fi novel in a very long time, and so this was my first sci-fi novel in a while, and I really enjoyed it, and so I was happy to finish that series this next month, this February. So after that was Reverie by Ryan LaSala. This is a debut novel. I did get it with Book of the Month YA. I don't have a code. I'm just saying that that's where I got it. I really enjoyed this book. I enjoyed the drag queen. I enjoyed the audiobook reading of this book. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. The reason I didn't give it a 5 out of 5 stars was because the main character annoyed me, and I didn't feel particularly connected to any of the characters other than the bad guy. Dr. Posey was the only character that I was really interested in, and the rest of them I was like, okay. I didn't care that much about them. And so because of that, I only gave it 4 out of 5 stars. The plot and everything, though, was really good. So, yeah. After that, I read Sawkill Girls, which I loved so much I bought. I've talked about this already. I don't think I need to say more. 5 out of 5 stars. Horror, sapphic, beautiful. I adored this book. I don't think I need to say more. It was a good book. Where does it go? It goes over here and I can't reach it. So after that, I read Caraval. Originally, I gave Caraval 5 out of 5 stars. That was as soon as I finished reading it. The longer I thought about it, I bumped Caraval all the way down to 2.5 stars because I hated the main character. I hated the way the story ended. Everyone's an idiot, and honestly, I hoped the whole time that the main character would die and that she would sacrifice herself for her sister or something redeeming, and nope. That book sucked. I did not like that book. I'm going to read the rest of the series, but I didn't like the book. Alright? I just didn't. After that, I read Cookie Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo. I love my babies. Leigh Bardugo made me feel sad about the death of a character that I didn't even like. So I think that says a lot. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. That's it. That's all I have for that one. It was really good. You should read the Six of Crows duology. I see on Goodreads that she might be making a 3rd book, but I don't know. I'm really excited for Netflix's series to come out, though. Inez is beautiful. I'm so excited for that. After that was Dream Thieves by Maggie Stiefvater. I can't say her name. I've said this before in vlogs. I don't know how to say her name. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. If I think about it too much, I would give it 3 out of 5 stars. I read it in one sitting. I didn't care about any of the characters that much. The story was interesting. The plotline was okay. But because I knew that this had 4 books in the series, I knew that all of these had the opportunity to be built up. And so that's probably why I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. After that, I read The Night Circus, which I do own and am going to continue to own. My mom just has it, and she's on the beach right now. The Night Circus was my top adult book of the year. It did beat out, what was it? Whatever book I said was my Bunny. It did beat out Bunny. It was fantastical. I love The Starless Sea. so much. And, you know, Erin Morgenstern did it with Night Circus too, and it was a beautiful book, very fantastical. I enjoyed it. Shadow and Bone was after that, another Leigh Bardugo Grisha trilogy book. It was okay. According to my notes, I gave it a 4 out of 5. Again, this is one of those, if I think about it, I would change my rating kind of thing. I don't understand why people support Alina and the Darkling. Am I gonna get in trouble for this? Is someone gonna come for me? I just don't get it. He's like old and weird. I only read the first book so far, but I said what I said. After that, I read the Chronicles of Amber. This was my dad book series. These were there's 2 books in the first volume, and they were the worst books that I read this month. I will be letting you guys know more about my thoughts on that when I talk to my dad. After that was A Court of Thorns and Roses. I expected to hate this book. And I'm not gonna lie, when Sarah J. Maas was like, actually, fairies are not weak to iron, and they can lie, I was like, no, this book is stupid and I don't want to read it anymore because you're wrong. Holly Black said the rules, and so we follow the rules. Duh. Everyone knows those rules. That annoyed me, and like her sisters annoyed me until the end of the book, and I was like, okay, redeeming, I guess, but I'm annoyed. Other than that, though, I really did enjoy the book. I heard the second book is a lot more raunchy, so I'm not sure if I'm looking forward to the second one so much, but my coworker is going to lend them to me and I'm going to read them because I'm committed if I am not anything else. After that, I read City of Bones by Clarissa Clare. This is editing, Andy. It's Cassandra Clare. It is not Clarissa Clare. I don't know where that came from. So, that was a 2.5 out of 5 stars for me. I didn't enjoy that book. I don't think I need to say more, but I didn't enjoy that book. After that, Children of Virtue and Vengeance by Tanayata Yami. If I'm saying her name wrong, please don't crucify me. I haven't heard it, and I see letters backwards, so that makes all of this a lot more difficult. I enjoyed that book a lot. You know, I own 6 copies of the first one. 4 out of 5 stars. I would say that it, the characters got a little annoying to me, but at the same time, my brain was like, yeah, but they've also been through trauma, which, as someone who's been through trauma, I understand being a little annoying. So, yeah, I did enjoy it, though. I knocked it out pretty quickly, if I remember correctly, and I don't want to spoil anything, but 4 out of 5 stars. It was a pretty good book. I talked about it in my last vlog, or in my vlog from the end of January. After that, I read Magic for Liars by Sarah Gailey. Apparently, I ripped the book dust cover, and that's annoying. Wow, I really liked this book. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. Sarah Gailey deserves more hype for what they do. They have a book coming out that is about friendships and magic and falling in love with your best friends, and has people of color and queer people, and this book had, you know, queer people and magic and all of that, and I enjoyed it. So 5 out of 5 stars for me. I DNF'd this, The Unabridged Journals of Cecilia Plaque. The reason I DNF'd it was because it is a journal and it's very tedious to read. So I didn't totally DNF it. It's more like I'm going to pick this up when I feel like it, which I was really, really pressuring myself to do, and I really, really didn't feel like it most of the time. So what is this? I don't know. Yeah. Did I even get 50%? I don't even know if I got 50% of the way into this book. It's a hard read to get through, especially, so a lot of the time, the way that I read so many books so quickly is because I will physically read them, digitally read them, and listen to them, and I alternate between books so that I don't get like overwhelmed. And this book was hard to read digitally, and I wouldn't listen to it, so that's why it was really hard to knock out. What's next? I don't remember. Blue Lily Lily Blue. Editing Andy here. What I'm about to say is actually my review for Dream Thieves and not my review for Blue Lily Lily Blue. I enjoyed Blue Lily Lily Blue more than I did Dream Thieves and more than the Raven Boys. Why did I think I just got confused, so sorry. Again, by Maggie Stiefvater. This is the second book in the Raven cycle. 4 out of 5 stars. I think I talked about that book and why I did or didn't like it. Adam's poor and Blue broke up with him, and that's really all I got out of that book. Oh, and I really like Ronan. You know, it is what it is. And the last book that I read, that's not correct, is it? I don't know. I read one more book, and I don't have it over here. It's fine. Oh, I remember what I'm forgetting. The last book that I read was The Girls. I don't remember who wrote this book. I talked about it in my last vlog. I didn't enjoy it. 3 out of 5 stars. That's all I have to say about that. And then I read Ironside by Holly Black. Valiant by Holly Black. I'm reading Ironside right now. And it's in the Modern Fairy Tales. It is 3 out of 5 stars. That's how I felt about Tithe, though. I don't expect to be wowed, but I really like Holly Black's books because they're still good even if I'm not being wowed. So I did also read, okay, yeah, Sorcery of Thorns is what I'm counting as my 30th book. I finished it on February 1st, but I'm still counting it for January. It's holding up my phone stand right now, though, so I can't show it to you. Sorcery of Thorns, I read as my last book of the month, and it was 4 out of 5 stars for me. It's a standalone, and I have issues with that because the world was really well developed and the character relationships were really well developed, but we didn't get an opportunity to fully explore both the world and the relationships. And because of that, I felt like I was missing something and I wanted more, and knowing that I wasn't going to get a second book made me really sad. So that's it. That's all 30 books. I'm out of breath. I hope this video is still recording, because if not, I'm gonna be upset and it's gonna suck to edit. But I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. I hope that this video is not garbage. Yeah, that's all I have to say. Have a great rest of your week.